קודם כל אנא לתת כל הכבוד ליו. הוא הבורא לבדו, חד ואין שני ואין דומה לו. ואנו עבדיו שבחרו דרך אמונתו, וממנה לא נסור ימינו או שמאלה, כי לעולם חסדו. סלאם. שבו בבקשה. All of the elders, wherever you may be, whatever form that you may be found, I take this opportunity on behalf of all of your sons and daughters to assure you that we understand the price that has been paid for us to be here today. And we have accepted the responsibility of vindicating the decisions that you made that led us on this path. We have also accepted the responsibility of not allowing your oppressors to write the last chapter of your history. All of you, the chosen, House of Israel, Hebrews, saints of the kingdom, the whole family. May the Holy One of Israel continue to watch over you, and bless you, and give you the strength and the tenacity to see this journey through to the end. What I would like to do, begin by saying, Muadim L'Simcha. It's been an extraordinary season for us, such joy, inexplicable joy, happiness, having been given the opportunity to express how we feel about being delivered, redeemed from the lands of the captivity. And we're thankful, we're joyful, exceedingly thankful and exceedingly joyful. And that is what we have been expressing during the season of New World Passover. It is the time that we are to express absolute joy and happiness for being delivered out of the lands of the captivity. And I do pray that y'all look down upon his children, and that's what he found us doing. I don't have a lot to say today, but I would like to begin by just asking a couple of you just the state of the world. The state of the world. What are you observing? The state of the world form. And the question is, in your observations, the conclusions that you've drawn, should we be trying to get further or deeper into this world, or should we be trying to get out of it?
Out of it.
This, the state of the world. Should we be making great efforts to get deeper, more involved in their world, or should we be prepared to give all of our heart, soul, and might to coming out of that world? And if that is the case, are we doing that? Are we doing that? There is nothing else on this planet. As we said, there is no other name, there is no other salvation, there is no other hope for our people and the Adamic civilization on this planet. Now that's not arrogance. That's just the truth. That's just the truth, Sarlevi. There is no other hope. If we, as a family, do not succeed, if we do not succeed, then you can forget it. There's no other place to turn to, nothing else to turn to. Just proceed on and get you a better job, a bigger car, and a bigger house. That is the extent of your vision. That's what it has been for the last 200-300 years. Get me an education, get me a job, get me a new car, and get me a new house. No vision that carries you into all of the corruption, the catastrophes, and the suffering that is taking place on this planet. No vision that involves you in anything other than what I've mentioned. It does not involve you in anything except what I have mentioned. You're just a primary consumer. But I would like to say that every Hebrew, all of our friends, foreign scholars, and even our antagonists, are undoubtedly confronted with the same question. What does all of this mean? You're hearing another language now about the kingdom age, and you're wrestling with this. What does this mean? You're in the promised land, beholding something that in your dreams you couldn't envision that would ever come to pass. What does it mean? This momentous event that has occurred in your lifetimes. Many of you would have preferred that it not occurred in your lifetimes. This momentous event that has occurred, the restoration of the Hebrews to the land of the promise. What does this mean? This momentous event. No. What does it prove? What does it prove? This is the question that is facing not only Hebrews and friends, not only foreign scholars, but also the governments of the ungodly. They also are posing this question and asking their soothsayers and scholars, what does it mean? How did they get back? For they had plowed up all of the waymarks. We were never supposed to find our way back. And they looked up. And the Hebrews, have been placed back miraculously, have been led back without the waymarks, have been led back to the promised land. What does this momentous event, what does it mean? Daniel, the 2nd chapter and the 44th verse. In the beginning, our journey and our mission was to return to the promised land and to establish the long-awaited kingdom of your God that had been prophesied by the prophet Daniel in the 2nd chapter and the 44th verse. Please.
It reads, "And in the days of these kings shall the God of heaven set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed."
Now mind you that in the previous verses we read about kingdoms that preceded this kingdom. So I don't want you to mythize, because there were kingdoms referred to as kingdoms in the books of the prophet prior to the coming of the kingdom. And with the coming of the kingdom, the same terminology And in the days of these kings, these kingdoms, would Yah of heaven establish a kingdom. A kingdom. So what would this kingdom? What would it be? What were the other kingdoms? Continue on.
Shall the God of heaven set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed, and the kingdom shall not be left to other people, but it shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms, and it shall stand forever.
And the promise. And this kingdom would break in pieces and consume all of those kingdoms, and it would stand forever. The coming of the kingdom, an observable social entity. Nothing mysterious, an observable social entity on this earth. An observable, the coming of this kingdom. The coming of this kingdom represents an observable social entity. An observable social entity. And the coming of this kingdom would have a special mission. It would be made up, first of all, of people, right, just like the preceding kingdoms. Not mysterious people. It would be made up of the Hebrews that would have been guided back to the promised land. And that's what was stated with the coming of the vision. An observable social entity. And through this entity, men would once again become exposed to, men would once again have the opportunity to experience salvation and redemption. Salvation and redemption. And at times I go back to a lecture at the University of Florida in Tallahassee, and I posed the question to the students. And I asked them, how many of you would like to be saved? And the great majority of them raised their hands. And I said, there's a second part to the question. And I asked them, from what? And they didn't raise their hands. They could not conceptualize salvation. How many individuals that want to be saved can actually tell you what it would be like after they've been saved? What would be the experience? That when it occurred, they can say, I've been saved. They had no idea, no conceptualization. And this is how the lands of the captivity have left our people. They're not able to conceptualize. Subsequently, they've been indoctrinated with mythology. No earthly conceptualization of salvation, redemption. Subsequently, they cannot conceptualize the struggle. They cannot conceptualize the redemptive struggle. When we're talking about that, this is the redemptive struggle. They can't conceptualize what we're talking about. They can't see it. Says that this is the struggle to save our people. So what is salvation? Redemption. It is a social, cultural struggle on this earth.
Wow.
What is salvation? Redemption. It is a social struggle on this earth. A social, cultural struggle that is taking place now with the coming of the kingdom. And when the prophet said, and this kingdom would engage all of those kingdoms and would bring them to an end. There would be a clash of ideas.
Wow.
How are we going to, and this kingdom shall break in pieces and consume all of those kingdoms. How? How? We have no conventional weapons.
Right.
We have no manufacturers of planes and missiles. We have no scientists that are even working in laboratories doing research. How would we then fulfill the words that were spoken by Daniel the prophet? Redemption, salvation. It's a clash of ideas. And in the days of these kings shall Yah of heaven establish a kingdom. He shall bring forth and manifest his idea by way of his kingdom. His idea by way of his kingdom. And because the ungodly are not ready to relinquish their power, they're enjoying this. They like their position as the head. And we are saying that there can't be, a two-headed horse. No. So there can only be one head. And this will cause a clash of ideas. But give it substance and give it form. Because I want you to understand these Edenic lands. Why? Returning to the promised land. Why the emphasis now has shifted from Babylon, the land of the captivity, to the Edenic lands. Give it form. How? How will we achieve this? Prophet said, we'll break in pieces. Clash of ideas. But give it substance, give it form. I mean, is this just going to be some poof? Clash of ideas, something that will not touch upon us in our immediate lives. No. So what is this? Because we're talking about redemption and salvation. A clash of ideas. And this clash of ideas will simply be a clash of cultures. A clash of cultures. What do you envision it to be? It will be a clash of cultures. A culture being born out of the Genesis idea. A culture that will lift up. A culture that will extol. A culture that will glorify Yah, the creator of the heavens and the earth. And that culture will clash with a culture that glorifies and extols and has lifted up the antagonist, Satan. So that clash, and when we speak of Yah and Satan, remember, Yah manifested himself in the Genesis through people. But why is it that everyone seems to turn their head when it comes to the other side of the coin? How has Satan manifested himself? Through people. Through people. Just like Yah chose the highway of the seed, Satan chose the highway of the enemies, of those that would represent the anti-Yah position on this planet. This clash of ideas is a clash of cultures. Because I want you to conceptualize salvation. Right. What is it that we're bringing? We're not just coming and say, just believe.
Right.
No. Just believe. Well, what is that? What is it that we're bringing and telling our people that something that you've got to do? Something that you've got to do. Would you go to Deuteronomy, the 11th chapter, starting at the 22nd verse, please? Salvation and redemption placed within the context of society. It conveys a commitment, a social commitment to Yah. What is a Savior? A Savior is someone that has made a social commitment to the Creator. A social commitment to the Creator. True worship. What does that mean? To labor for, work for, invent for, sing for, perform for, eat for, drink for, talk for, dress for, and to go out and to make others in your image. And to make others in your image. Within the context of society, this redemptive struggle, this struggle for salvation, is a struggle to make the culture represented by Yah, preferred by Yah, the preeminent culture on this planet. And we find verification of this in the book of Deuteronomy, the 11th chapter, starting at the 22nd verse.
And it reads, "For if ye shall diligently keep all these commandments."
Now, listen to this lead in. For if ye shall diligently keep, adhere to this culture, all of these commandments, this culture, if you shall be obedient to every aspect of this culture that I'm teaching you, that represents the Creator,
which I command you to do them, to love Yahweh, your God.
To love Yah. To love Yah, your God.
To walk in all his ways.
And what would all of his ways be except a culture? All of his ways. What are you talking about? You've got to conceptualize this. To walk in all of his ways, to love him and to walk in all of his ways. Now watch this.
And to hold fast or cling unto him. Then will Yah drive out all these nations from before you. And he shall possess greater nations and mightier than yourselves.
Now, that's power. Sorry. Is that power?
That's power.
That's power. You said that greater. He said, I will drive them out. No, he will drive them out. And the prerequisite was simply said, walk in my ways. But conceptualize it. Sing like this. Dance like this. Talk like this. Walk like this. Because other than that, how are we supposed to achieve this? They got cameras on the moon. They got missiles and guns and tanks. We don't have none of that. Because you've got to understand this dilemma. You look around, they're confronted with this. And their prognosticators and soothsayers have been reading this and telling them that, that the return of the Hebrews, first of all, break their cultural will. Lure them away from their culture. And to walk in all of his ways. All of his ways. We're talking about culture. How do you conceptualize a kingdom? Yah's kingdom. Is it going to be a kingdom without, it's not going to be a social entity? All the other kingdoms were social entities. Well, this kingdom that Daniel has prophesied, it's not going to be a social entity. And if it's going to be a social entity, my question is, how are you going to eat? How are you going to drink? How are you going to talk? How are you going to walk? How are you going to sing? How are you going to dress? It doesn't matter.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
Of culture.
Say it again.
They're all expressions of culture.
They're all expressions of culture.
Distinction.
Distinction. Something has to distinguish this kingdom from all other kingdoms. And submerged within that culture, those commandments, his ways, submerged within that is inexplicable power. 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 So these aren't just garments. These aren't just, this is far beyond just some cotton clothes. Far beyond the songs of deliverance. It's another message. Because all of this, the promise, and this is not all. Go back again to that top when he tells us he gives us the prerequisite for that.
For if ye shall diligently keep all these commandments, which I command you, to do them, to love your God, to walk in all his ways, and to cleave unto him, or cling unto him, then will you drive out all these nations from before you, and ye shall possess greater nations and mightier than yourselves.
So you will drive out all of those nations. Now, we've got to lean on that. I mean, we've got to lean on that. I mean, that's what you look and you say, but you all are just a few thousand people here. Yeah, but what we're leaning on, though, but what's holding us up, what has kept us here, against inexplicable odds, attempts to uproot, attempts to divide, something that now they're concluding that, what is it that's holding them up? Like that burning bush.
Right.
Would not be consumed, that he will drive them out. The prerequisite said, if you do thus and thus and thus, he gives us the keys to our power. Said, and if you do thus and thus and thus, it will set this in motion, because all of these judgments are written in the earth. This is not depending on somebody to approve it. All we have to do is do it, and it's going to set these things in motion. Look at the disarray amongst the nations, the ungodly today. What has caused this great disarray? Why is it that they wouldn't send us the invitation? They're afraid of the Hebrews. All of them are faced with that dilemma. The restoration of the Hebrews to the promised land. And now this word is beginning to echo to the ends of the earth. Individuals are saying, we're Hebrews, Hebrew Israelites, Hebrews. The restoration of the Hebrews to the promised land.
Right. Wow.
Remember,
Wow.
you never would hardly would ever hear the term, the Hebrews. And we know that Solomon had said that the way marks to Israel, let us cut them off so that they would never find their way back to the promised land. And now they've got to ask themselves that, did we do that? Did we do that? Did we leave something undone? And everything, we did it. I mean, check. They did everything. Then the next you say, but then how did they get here? How did they get here? All of the checklist was perfect. How did they get back? The Hebrews. That's why they won't send us an invitation. Because our voice is different. Our language is different. We come to bring strength.
Every place whereon the soles of your feet shall tread shall be yours.
Now, the Edenic lands. That's why. Every place that you what?
Whereon the soles of your feet shall tread shall be
Every
yours.
place that your feet shall tread
Yes.
shall be yours. All of the Edenic lands shall be brought back under the sovereignty of Yah.
Let's go. We got a problem.
We have the keys and they know it. So they have to keep us off of the platform. They got their checklist too. But they can't stop us. No way. How we got here. It would have been easy to stop us. I mean, our numbers were small. And we didn't have no map. And we had to lean on somebody that had a map. We had never been here. It didn't exist as a geographical location.
Look like the rest of those tourists coming in.
Didn't look like the rest of the tourists coming in. That's why. The Edenic lands now. This is where it all began.
Yes.
This is where our demise began. And this is where our ascension was restored.
Yes. High point.
The garden, the little garden eastward in Eden. The garden eastward in Eden, just like in the Genesis. This is where our demise began. And this is where our ascension began.
Wow.
Because we would not fear them.
Right.
We would not allow them to scare us away. So in every place, read that again.
Every place whereon the soles of your feet shall tread shall be yours.
Now describe for me every place. I mean, what does that, Samadiel, every place, is that in every place
Every place.
that we, what we have, will have the power to conquer. Go forth. Westward in Eden, southern Eden, east Eden, northeast Eden. What we possess has the power to conquer all of those lands. Said wherever we set our foot and represent those commandments and represent Yah, he said that you're going to be victorious. It's coming back under your jurisdiction and his sovereignty. That's why they're afraid.
They should be.
Sorry.
They should be.
We understand about salvation, redemption. We're not talking about, we understand that it's a struggle on this planet. Every place. Habakkuk. Every place that we tread, we will have the power to conquer. Is that power?
That's power.
That's power. You can understand now. Understand why they're not excited, about helping us. We understand that.
We already got out here.
But we're leaning on Yah. And this is why I'm saying to you, wherever our people are today, there is nothing else to support. There is nothing else to do. There is no other way to spend your energy except this is the source of your power. Nothing else to pray for. Pray for us. Turn your eyes toward Jerusalem. Ain't nothing else to be looking at. Turn your eyes and your ears. Be concerned about what's taking place here in the midst of the saints, because what is taking place here is affecting the lives of every person on this planet.
See that again.
Every place. Every place whereon the soles of your feet shall tread shall be yours. From the wilderness and Lebanon, from the river Euphrates, even the uttermost sea shall your border be. There shall no man be able to stand before you.
Say that again.
There shall no man be able to stand before you.
So I need your help again. There shall no man. I mean that.
No man.
That should be making it easy. I could have said that. You making it.
Nobody.
Shall be able to stand before you. And we're not going with Uzis. And with Kalashnikov rifles.
The counter Uzi. I'm taking him next week.
There is something when we go, there is a way that we talk, a way that we walk, a way that we dress, a way that we eat. There is a God that we are relating to and we speak about and we extol. We're going to make them hear and fear the name of Yah to the ends of the earth. It's their problem. It's their problem. No man. Now all of this, you remember how this began? If you keep all of my ways, keep these, says that here, that was the prerequisite. He says now, here's what this is going to set in motion. And now that dilemma. What does this mean? This momentous event that has occurred. And you're walking and you're looking. Hebrews, they really, am I dreaming? How do I define this? What do I say when I return? I mean, how do I describe this? What is happening? That's their dilemma. It's their dilemma. And the little fella at the table keep putting up the checklist and said, but Massa, we did everything we were supposed to do. You know how they got here. No man will be able to stand before you. What will we have? What is it that's going to, say it again? That's all that we're going to have. I mean, what will we have to cause such fear? Give us such power. Culture. A social struggle. And we have accepted our responsibilities and made our social commitment unto Yah. A social commitment unto the Creator. All of His ways. We eat, drink, talk, walk, play, laugh, sleep. We do everything. When you lie down, goes out to lie down, he said these ways, that when you rise up.
There shall no man be able to stand before you. For your God shall lay the fear of you and the dread of you upon all of the land that ye shall tread upon.
See that? Shall what? There we are. Fear. Afraid. Afraid of the Hebrews. Keep them out of the forum. Don't let them speak on the platform. You know, keep the Hebrews away. And you're talking about having to struggle. When we get on a platform, know that y'all, I mean, we're there. Y'all is holding us up. I mean, they don't give us no quarters. But we don't care. We go in, we take it. Says that he will put that fear and that dread. From what? Somebody going to just look at us? You know, we tall, I mean short. Why are they going to fear us? Something submerged in this culture. Something is submerged in these ways. These ways. Power. Other than that, how are we to accomplish Daniel 2 and 44? I mean, how will we know when we've been saved? We know what it is that we must be saved from. It is an alien idea that dominates our people and this planet. And salvation will be to escape from, to come out from under the influence of that alien idea. That your alien idea. And when we have come from under that influence and been reconciled with Yah and made our commitment to Him, we've been saved. We've been saved. And subsequently will know how to save others. Will know how to save others.
There shall no man be able to stand before you, for your God shall lay the fear of you and the dread of you upon all the land that ye shall tread upon, as he hath said unto you.
Culture. Remember that culture is observable worship. Tarbut avodah tarbut giluya la'ayin. Culture is observable worship. Let's change that word worship for a moment. Observable worship. Let's change the word worship to servitude. So then culture becomes observable servitude, so you can look at the culture that someone is observing and tell whose interests they are serving. Culture is observable worship. Culture is observable servitude. Whose interests are you serving? You can't hide it. It is observable. So then that means that by way of culture, we know who they're serving. Well, I believe who they're serving. And by way of culture, they know. That's why they always ask, in a little subtle kind of way, where did you get that from? Who told you that? Why do you do that, Trying to see, if this is it. If this is the real entity. So the Edenic lands, everywhere, every country we visit, every form we speak at, we bring power.
Yes.
And we have power that we can share power and make our people strong. And that's the problem. That is not in the best interest, that desire for our people to remain weak. And that's why they limit our invitations. Because we represent strength. Strength. That is not in their best interest. They'll have those conferences for the next 200 years.
Yes, they will. They will.
Just having conferences. But when we come, we bring substance. Substance. Culture. The structure of worship is observed through culture, such as culture. Your day, your week, your month, your year. Here are your set times, your festivals, and the manner in which you celebrate them. Now, that's just one point. Now, mind you now, nowhere on this planet, nowhere else on this planet do they have this whole. And that's why we had to return in order to give the whole to our people. The day represents Yah's day, as in the Genesis. The week, remember, not one of the high holy days through the religion that represents the Western world Not one of the high holy days, including the Sabbath day, got through the cut. Culture. Culture, not one of the high holy days got through the cut. Cut them all off. They took crafty counsel together. Cut us off from our power, our strength. Not one. Habakkuk. Not one of the high holy days got through the Western world's cut, including the Sabbath day. All of it was cut out. Not the day, not the week, not the month, not the year. None of the high holy days. We're talking about culture, power, within the manner that you recognize the day, the week, the year, the Sabbath day. All of this is the whole that represents power.
Wow. Yes.
The high holy days and the seasons.
Yes.
It represents power.
Yes.
Here's how you plant your fields. No diverse kinds. Shemitah. Remember how you plant your fields. You know anywhere on the planet that they keep the Shemitah, the 7th year? I mean, Yah has commanded us that in the 7th year, let the fields lay what? Lay fallow. I mean, is that being pushed by the Western world now to increase the yield of crops? Culture. Here's how you plant your fields. Here's how you harvest your foods. Here's when you harvest your foods. Here's how you share. All culture. This is power.
Yes, it is.
Right.
This is power. How you harvest your produce. Don't glean. Leave the ends, the gleanings for the poor. That's how to plant, how to harvest, and don't glean the fields. How to protect and still plant your trees and understand their significance. The trees, I mean, there could never be deforestation in our world.
Right.
You know, that can't eat even your enemy's trees. It says because the tree is what? The tree is the life of man. The tree is the life of man. But we look now, all of the high holy days are gone. The day is gone, the week is gone, the month is gone, the year is gone. The high holy days are gone. The forests are gone. Monsanto, the fields are gone. Everything now. The bees are gone. Everything is anti the way that it was. There is a force that has changed and turned everything around. This force that has our people in pursuit of death and destruction, that has made them corrupters, abominators, desolators of the planet. Culture, outer appearance. After this manner shall ye make and style your clothes, for glory and for beauty. Culture, the way you walk, the way you talk. These things shall be in your heart, and ye shall speak of them when you lie down, rise up, sit in the house, walk by the way. It says, here's how you talk. Culture. You ever hear your mother, your grandmother say, boy, talk like you got some sense. Now we understand, you know. Because that's what we're saying to the nations now, to our people. Talk like you got some sense. Now shut up and let us talk for you then. Talk like our people all over the planet. They talk like they're foolish. They dress foolish, talk foolish, walk foolish, eat foolish. Their vision, their expectations are foolish. Here's how you furnish your house. Treat your neighbor, the stranger, and the poor. Here's how you eat and feed others. Culture. Here's how you pray. All of this is culture. This is culture. And this is power. This is culture, and this is power. Power. So when we go into those lands, and we teach them, now we know, and we teach them how to pray. Because it would seem a simple thing, but how many of our people on this planet know how to pray? Sorry, they don't know how to pray. But now we know. So this is why they don't want us talking to them. They'll teach you how to pray. Stop committing suicide, killing yourselves, killing the children. Stop eating like that. Stop playing that music. Stop talking like that. I like that. Talk like you got some sense. I remember Mother used to say that. I remember that. That just rings the bell, you know. Dang. But we can't let them come to the conference. Why? They talk like they got some sense. That's why we don't get the invitations to the conference.
They don't want nobody making sense.
They don't want anyone, because if you got sense, you make sense. And expose those that we have to talk like you got some sense. And what they do is they use religion. You know, this is that sensitive area.
Right.
They use religion to give the impression, to give our people, try to make them feel that they're not estranged from the Creator.
Right.
So they give them religion, and when they give them religion, they feel they're no longer estranged. So, but they're still alienated from the Creator. But once He give them that religion, they no longer realize that they're still alienated.
Right.
So then when we come to them, even more so.
Right.
He's saying that, but y'all just got another religion. Oh no. Under no circumstances. Under no circumstances. So the Edenic lands are critical for us.
Yes.
Remember,
Yeah.
I'll go back to a little as to how all of this began. Culture and power. Culture and power. Daniel 7:21, 22. Daniel 7:21 and 22.
It reads, I beheld, and the same horn made war with the saints.
And the same horn made what?
War with the saints.
Made war against us, against our fathers.
And prevailed against them.
Not only did they make war, but prevailed. And to prevail means they overwhelmed, they defeated.
Yes.
They made war and they defeated. They defeated this social struggle. They defeated, they overwhelmed the culture of representing in the midst of our people. Overwhelmed them, defeated them.
Until the Ancient of Days came.
Until. And they continue to defeat them until the coming of the kingdom. Until the coming of the kingdom. But let us analyze warfare at this time. When an army prevails, what happens to the defeated? They go into captivity. The defeated go into captivity. Is that correct?
Correct.
They go into captivity. And in conjunction with that, all of their defenses and weapons are what? Are dismantled and destroyed. Now it says that they overwhelmed Israel. All of their weapons of war, everything that represented power that they could extract power from. They took it. They destroyed it. We're talking about now warfare. It says, in this horn, defeated, overwhelmed our people. And in warfare, the defeated go into captivity. They go into captivity. And the victor proceeds then to destroy every source of his strength. Why? The objective of the victor is to destroy forever the capability of the defeated to make war or resist occupation. Forever to assure that the defeated will never raise up again. So that he does not have to fight the defeated every year he's back at war. He completely dismantles every aspect of his power, all of his weapons. So I refer to this as the methodical dismantling of our power begins, piece by piece. Okay, we were defeated. Now they begin to do what? Dismantle our power. So that what? We will never find our power to raise up and resist occupation. Is that correct? Warfare. So the victor then begins the process of methodically dismantling our power base. Our power base. Cut them off from the land of Israel. Don't even allow them to connect up with the promised land. Power. Whatever it was that we could extract power from, they took it away from us. Destroyed it. Destroyed it. They did not leave anything from which we could extract power. The Edenic lands. The Edenic lands. The Edenic lands, they were a source of strength for us. The Edenic lands. The Edenic lands could feel when we walked upon them, when we talked to them. So they took us away from the Edenic lands, but more so than that, they made us what? They made us hate Africa. Dismantling our power. They made us hate to be associated with Africa. Because remember, everything that was done to weaken us has to be undone in order for us to regain our strength. So the Edenic lands, if they made us hate the Edenic lands, somebody's got to make you what again? Love the Edenic lands. You've got to love the Edenic lands. They made us hate Africa. We've got to make you love Africa. Dismantling our power, methodically dismantling our power, piece by piece. Ezekiel 19:4, then 8 and 9.
Reads, the nations also heard of him.
The nations also heard of him.
He was taken in their pit, and they brought him with chains unto the land of Egypt. Then the nations set against him on every side.
And then the nations on every side, just like in Psalms, they conspired against us on every side. Mm-hmm.
Then the nations set against him on every side from the provinces, and spread their net over him. He was taken in their pit, and they put him in a cage, in chains, and brought him to the king of Babylon. They brought him into strongholds, that his voice should be no more heard upon the mountains of Israel.
Methodically. Now we find that they had to be sure that our voices would never be lifted up again from this land. There's something about that. This is different from being lifted up from Mississippi. This is different from Alaska, Tennessee. Said they had to be sure that this message would never go forth. Remember, they're dismantling our power. They're dismantling our power. So we would have to find a way back. And once we find our way back, there is something that would have to be transmitted from the mountains of Israel. A power. A voice. So that their voices would never be heard on the mountains of Israel. They're dismantling our power. Piece by piece. We had to get back and transmit once again. This is the transmitting station. Read that verse again.
And they put him in a cage, in chains, and brought him to the king of Babylon. They brought him into strongholds, that his voice should no more be heard upon the mountains of Israel.
All of that was to prevent their dismantling our power base, taking us from the lands to the lands of the captivity, confusing us so that our voices would never again be lifted up on the mountains of Israel. It's different. We're talking about culture, but we're talking about power. And all of them conspired against us. Who told you that? Don't be listening to them. Why y'all going over there? You can do the same thing here. Power. You cannot manifest the power except that it's a jurisdiction, it's a tributary that is flowing out of the living waters that flow out of Israel. All of that they did, Nasik Daniel, to prevent, take them wherever, but get them out of here. And don't let them come back and plow up the way. Now all of it makes sense now. Cut them off from being a nation. They were unifying and we were stratified. This is a different time. Say it again. We were disintegrated. We didn't want any unity. Always finding some way to keep us divided. But the first thing he said is that they all came together. Because our power. Because in order to fulfill Daniel 2:44, we got to have some power. We've got to have some power. This is not a game. This is not a game. Other than that, that's just something that somebody wrote there. That no. Power. So they're dismantling our power. Israel has been defeated, overwhelmed. And now the victor is assuring that we will never raise up against him again. Never raise up against him again. So as we go through these things now, we can see him methodically dismantling our power. Our power. And without it, and then he told us, here's how you get power. Go to Harvard, go to Yale, go to the university. He directed us. Get you some money, get in this neighborhood. Then he directed us and told us, this is how you get strong. And none of it succeeded. up to this very day. Still the tale. The Edenic lands. The Edenic lands. Back with our voices. But look at us now. We got the nation again. We found our way back to Israel again. All of the high places that had been occupied, taking them back now. We got our eyes on them, and they know it. We're just not out on sacred visitation. We're out scouting. Psalms 137, 5 and 6.
You didn't want us to answer those questions you asked in the beginning.
Dismantling our power so that you can see how we have reassembled. We put it back together against all odds. We put it back together. We've come back together. Damn that! What am I doing someplace arguing with you? About what? I mean, just arguing about what? And all of this, they're plying up and destroying the whole planet. Why y'all wear Echo shoes? What are you talking about? No, absolutely not. We've overcome all of that. Psalms 137, 5 and 6.
If I forget thee, O Jerusalem, let my right hand forget her cunning. If I do not remember thee, let my tongue cleave to the roof of my mouth.
Effective speech. If you don't remember Jerusalem, and that's why they always say next year in Jerusalem, just like now, our people every year, keep your eyes on Jerusalem. Ask about Jerusalem. What's happening in Dimona? What are they doing in Dimona? How are they doing? Pray for us. Right. If I forget thee, and Jerusalem now has become the people, don't forget us. Because in order to have effective speech, you cannot forget us. If I forget thee, O Jerusalem, let my tongue cleave to the roof of my mouth, you lose the ability to speak effectively about the house of Israel. You cannot deny us and have a message to our people. Read it again.
If I forget thee, O Jerusalem, let my right hand forget her cunning.
You lose your ability, your skills, all becomes vanity. Vanity. And that's what happened to us when we forgot Jerusalem. We got trades and professions, and it all went to naught. All went to naught. We've got plenty individuals that are trained and professionals, carpenters, all kinds of jobs. And it means nothing. No power. This is connected with your power. This is the restoration of your ability to deliver an effective message. You cannot deny this kingdom and deliver an effective message to the house of Israel. Read it again.
If I forget thee, O Jerusalem, let my right hand forget her cunning. If I do not remember thee, let my tongue cleave to the roof of my mouth.
Can't talk.
I prefer not Jerusalem above my chief joy.
Turning your eyes and ears to Jerusalem, to Dimona. To Dimona, what's going on? What's our people in Dimona? What are they doing? How are they doing? pray for us, meditate to help us. This isn't anyone pleading with you to give us something. This is your power. You cannot deny this kingdom and deliver an effective message. Your tongue will cleave to the roof of your mouth. And you be one of those we will be saying, talk like you got some sense. You be talking foolish. Grant, you remember all of the foolish things they used to say about, well, I don't want to get, I don't, I mean, yeah. I didn't, my tongue cleaved to the roof of my mouth, made us forget, and they're continuously trying to turn your eyes away. You know somebody in Israel? I know the brothers and sisters in Dimona. You know them? Oh, what's your connection? You need to stay away. Turn your eyes and your ears toward this land. Pray for the saints in this land. Don't forget us. If I forget thee, O Dimona, don't forget us. The other side of the coin, we never forget you. All of this is for you. Every day in every way, this is for you. We've been saved. Just a few of the things that that they dismantled. Social stratification. No unity. You wonder, why can't our people? No way. But now is the time. Now is the time that we can say that we've overcome. That we can say that we have overcome. Salvation, redemption, a social, cultural struggle on this earth. The clash is a clash of ideas. We represent the Genesis idea to extol your Yisrael, not the gods that they have given us. No, that we extol your Yisrael and the culture that he has given unto us that will lift up and give glory unto him. Isaiah 60th chapter. Starting at the first verse. And we find here, observable again.
Book of Isaiah, 60th chapter and the first verse. Arise, shine, for thy light is come, and the glory of Yah is risen upon thee.
And with our ascension, now you can't ascend. The only way we can ascend is that the glory of Yah, ascends with us. There is no other way to ascend. You can't get into the ascension realm without the glory of Yah.
For behold, the darkness shall cover the earth, and gross darkness the peoples. But Yah shall arise upon thee.
Yah shall arise, lead us into the ascension realm.
And his glory shall be seen upon thee.
And his glory shall what?
Shall be seen
Shall
upon
be
thee.
observable. What are they going to see? What's going to be his glory? His glorious culture. This way of life that represents him, that extols him. What did it say in the Psalm? It says to talk of all of his wondrous works. Everybody's talking about the great works of all of the other gods. We're supposed to be talking about the wondrous works of Yah Yisrael. And this is the greatest wondrous work of contemporary history. No doubt. Pondering. extol his name. They're going to hear yours name to the ends of the earth. And it says, and they're going to fear. It says that when we call upon his name, they're going to fear. Ain't no fear when you're calling upon the gods that they've given us. But when they know and see that we're obedient to his ways and we're calling upon his name, they know we've tapped into the source of our power. So the Edenic lands, what we're doing, how we're doing, what we've got to do. We've had to establish things in the Edenic lands to have you to come to visit, because we've got to convince you you've got to love Edenic lands again. That was part of the dismantling of our power. They made us hate Africa. Hate Africa. Got to love it again. And that's why we're in those lands now. And that's why those way stations are all there. Come and to visit, spend some time, feel that soil of the Edenic lands again, the people in the Edenic lands again. And now we see that they're moving full speed ahead now, infiltrating the Edenic lands. Monsanto now, the recent conference that they had with President Obama, and he has let them loose now. Take those, destroy those Edenic lands. The only difference, that's where you're going to meet us. That's where you're going to meet us. And the great confrontation in the last days would be the confrontation, the center, the core, the mountains, instructions from the mountains of Israel, and power going forth. Heart pumping the blood to all of the organs in the body. And the blood is the life, and the heart is pumping it, that truth, to all of those lands. All of those lands. We've got to love them, and that's why we're there. That's why we're in Ghana. That's why we're in Sierra Leone. That's why we're in Benin. There, that's needless to say, and here at home, northeastern Africa. I mean, this is the transmitting station. I mean, you got to love, you can't forget Jerusalem now. Well, I'm going to go and say, no. I mean, you got to love Jerusalem. You've got to be a tribute wherever you go. You can't leave from under the banner of Jerusalem, because Jerusalem is the transmitting station. And that's where we are. State of the world, state of their world, state of our world. And I mean that we're looking up and they're looking down. Two different directions. Daniel 2:44, being fulfilled. That clash of ideas exists. The day, sunset, the week, 7 days, Sunday is the first day, not the seventh day. The year, Aviv. All of the high holy days. All of the high holy days. It's back now and it exists. That clash. That's our power. That's our power. We will back Daniel 7:25. We're going to take a few moments. You know that these are far, far more than some ascension garments. And cotton suits. Oh no. It's much more that, but we didn't know in the beginning. But we didn't know, but we know now. We know now, and we know now how to nourish our people back to strength. To strength. Today. How to fast. Nobody fasts from midnight to midnight. No effective fast from midnight to midnight. You're just getting hungry for nothing. Culture. How do you maintain an effective fast according to the instructions of Yah. Say it again. Sunset to sunset. That's a different fast from midnight to midnight. An effective fast. But now we know how to teach our people because there's fasting and praying. We know how to teach them how to fast and to teach them how to pray. Power. Power. Back to Daniel 7:25.
And he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High.
Let you know this force now, this anti-Yah force that overwhelmed our culture, that overwhelmed the house of Israel, culturally, socially. And he shall speak great words against, very, very intelligently put forth, against the Most High, an anti-Yah force.
And think to change the times and the laws.
That you'll think to change. What?
The times and the laws.
And he changed all of them. All of them. And he changed all of them. Nothing got past. So this anti-Yah force exists on this planet. And this is the force that has been commissioned to prevent your rise. This is the force that was commissioned to prevent our rise. We've identified them and we've challenged them. And all of this is occurring. Daniel 2:44, at this very moment, is being fulfilled. Is being fulfilled. And the outcome has been promised already. It says, and this kingdom shall stand forever. And it shall break in pieces and consume all of those kingdoms. And this kingdom shall stand forever. Selah. Hallelujah.